Michael Suker is the Assistant Treasurer, and he joins us now from Melbourne. Nice to see you, Michael.
Great to be with you, Paul. Thanks for having me.
So we read today it could have been 15%. It might end up being 10%. We're not fully there yet, so I'll just ask you straight up. How many people have signed up to the job seeker payment, essentially the dole, since all of this started?
Well, Paul, those numbers haven't been released yet because we're going through a process now where we're simultaneously working through JobKeeper applications as well. And as I'm sure many of you viewers know, there's been people who have applied for both. So the job seeker numbers haven't been released. They will be in time by the Employment Minister and the ABS. But there have been over 830,000 JobKeeper applications to the ATO, an organisation that I administer. Quite unprecedented, 830,000 big businesses, small businesses, sole traders, and the ATO is working through those as we speak.
So the last numbers that we got was that the Treasurer is saying something like 370,000, but it was a progressive number, and obviously it'll be bigger on the job seeker. But on JobKeeper, have you been able to extrapolate of the 830,000 businesses, how many workers are going to be covered by that?
Well, look, our best estimates are around the 6 million, Paul, but no, we haven't got to that point yet. So employers have nominated. They will now, over the next couple of weeks, go through a process of nominating their employees. So the ATO will get a pretty good idea in the next few weeks as to the number of employees that are covered by those 830,000 separate businesses. But we estimate around 6 million. And as you said at the outset, Treasury estimates were that unemployment would go to about 15%. We think around 10%. If you look at other economists, Bill Evans at Westpac has said that their view was it would go to 17%. It will now peak at around 9%. So we're not too far apart in that respect. But either way you look at it, it shows that the JobKeeper payment is going to keep many Australians in work, many businesses viable, and that's what the Morrison government's intended it to do.
Now, I think one of the smartest things the Prime Minister, Treasurer, Finance Minister, yourself and Assistant Finance Minister, that core economic team have done is by pushing this through the ATO, essentially to falsely claim through the ATO in and of itself is a crime. Is that the best way to make sure that the rorting, look, somebody's going to try somewhere, but the consequences are pretty freaking obvious if somebody does that?
Absolutely, Paul. And we, as the Prime Minister has said from day one, have tried to tailor all of our economic responses through existing systems. So this is a system where, just like your tax return, you declare it. So here we've got people who will declare that they are eligible for JobKeeper, i.e. that they have had the reduction in turnover, 30% for smaller businesses, 50% for large businesses. They will self-declare that. And of course, it's open to being audited down the track. And I think anyone that's had anything to do with the ATO will know that you can't cheat them for very long. They will catch up with you. So it's a self-assessment system. So you're not relying on a government department to stamp a form for you and say you are eligible for JobKeeper. Yes, there is some administrative processes you've got to go through as far as nominating and nominating who your employees are, and then obviously nominating where you want the money paid. But that is about as simple as we could humanly make it. And we did that very deliberately.
Just finally, because I know you've got plenty of things to do, and if nothing else, that means rest, fine by me, because there's a lot going on. Is there any Treasury modelling, and if so, can you give us a little peek at it, about when the bounce back happens, of that 10% unemployment, how long does it take us to get back to where we were, 5% unemployment?
Well, Paul, look, obviously we've given these sorts of issues a lot of thought. I don't think anyone, either the Treasurer or the Prime Minister, would thank me for airing them with you. But we have
I
given
thought
a lot
I'd
of
try.
thought.
I went the nice way.
Of course, and you always do, Paul. But I think there's still a lot of water to go under the bridge as far as the health issues that have led to this economic crisis. And, until we get a bit of a better sense where the health outcomes are likely to go, I think it might be a bit hard to give great certainty to it. But what we're trying to do, either through the small business cash flow package, through JobKeeper, through keeping people able to meet the essential costs of life through JobSeeker, is to make sure that individuals, businesses, and therefore the economy more broadly are in as good a shape as possible at the end, so we can see a really significant recovery. Those economies and those countries around the world that aren't able to throw as much at this as the Australian government has been able to, I think we'll find it a bit harder, and we're hoping we can lead the pack on that recovery on the way out.
Thank you, mate. Housing Minister, Assistant Treasurer Michael Sukkar will talk to you again soon.
Thanks, Paul.